It's Final Fantasy XVI launch day, and the hype behind this game is massive. Reviews have gone up, the game is sitting at a solid 87 on Metacritic, but of course we knew there would be some journalists trashing it since a few days ago Eurogamer was posting articles that mentioned how specific snowflakes online were boycotting it over its alleged lack of diversity, and now the gamer is mad at its portrayal of women. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube membership. Now, of course, if anyone was going to complain about this game, it was going to be The Gamer, or sites like it, like Game Rant or Kotaku, but Final Fantasy XVI is afraid to let women be powerful, which is such a load of crap. Spoilers for Final Fantasy XVI. It says Final Fantasy XVI doesn't hate women, but after finishing the game, I've struggled to work out whether it respects them. Of course, they were going to find something to complain about with this game. First, it was a lack of diversity. Now it is the fact that the game doesn't respect women. I mean, these people were always going to find a way to trash this title, which is so sad. I know so many of us have been excited for it. I am going to be starting my playthrough tonight on launch day, 8 p.m. Eastern. I am hyped for this title, but unfortunately, we knew that it was going to face attacks. It says Square Enix's latest RPG blockbuster has only a few female characters in its main cast, and many of them are either killed off in the early hours in service of a male companion's revenge, or seen as a dangling carrot of romance ready to part with their souls if it means saving the world. So first of all, they're not saying that there aren't women, they're just saying, they don't do good enough by the women. They don't respect the women, and this is the issue with modern day game journalists. I hate calling them that because they're really just activists, but yeah, they're saying, yeah, there's a couple women, but it's not good enough. They are always framed as weaker and less capable than the men surrounding them, which hinders an otherwise progressive and bold new beginning for a series that prides itself on its strong women. There are plenty of strong women in the Final Fantasy franchise, and from what I have seen so far, there are plenty of strong women in this game, but I am already so sick of the narratives that they're pushing in this article. The first one is that this game is no longer seen as progressive simply because they kill off female characters, which is absurd. Why can't we kill off female characters if it makes sense to the story? But they also say that it's no longer progressive because they have denigrated the female characters by giving them romance options. We should want as many options in video games for players as possible. I think romances are great in video games, especially in Final Fantasy, but of course to them that means this game is way less progressive than it could have been. They do start off with a death that did happen in the demo, but Benedicta is the first major casualty. She's the dominant of Garuda, and she is a sexy, stern, and ruthless woman. But of course, the fact that she dies is bad to them, because she is a woman, and she deserved to have more story, and I get it, right? There are characters that we end up falling in love with that we want to see more of, but at the end of the day, people are going to have to die, and we have seen a push in gaming and Hollywood and just entertainment in general where, the men die first and the women aren't allowed to die because people like this will complain if they do. It says that I'll delve deeper into her character arc in a separate piece we will not be reading, but the long and short of it is that she was once a bearer on the verge of death who was taken off the streets and cared for by Telamon during his time as commanding officer. I mean, this does sound cool. She does have a pretty good backstory, but again, because she's a powerful woman and she dies, that instantly brings down the score of this game for these people. Jill is yet another excellent character, although much of her worth is drawn from an inevitably romantic relationship with Clive. Of course, her motivation derives from seeing him succeed and eventually falling in love with him, and this is something else we've seen. They hate romances with male characters. You know, I wouldn't look at this and go, wow, all of her worth is drawn from the fact that she has a romantic relationship with Clive. No, it's only them that are saying this. They're the only ones finding an issue with this, because when you look for an issue, you're inevitably going to find one, and they have with this game. I love seeing romantic relationships in titles. I love seeing the way that, you know, relationships can blossom and grow, and we've seen so many romantic, heroic sacrifices in video games that really tug at your heartstrings, and that happens here, and that, you know, that's a problem, because that means that she died simply for a man. Ugh, you can't have that. I mean, these people are just absurd. It says that a later scene takes the cake. Clive and Jill sit naked on a beach after an encounter, and they are left vulnerable. They light a fire and seek shelter in one another's arms as an entire game's worth of romantic tension washes over. As a hopeless romantic who wants to see them smooch and fall in love, I was delighted. But as an empowered woman, I was disgusted. This doesn't sound like disgusting at all. This sounds, you know, very vulnerable of them, and yes, pretty romantic, pretty tension-filled, and there's really nothing to complain about here except for the fact that, oh no, a woman has to be seen naked by a man when she didn't basically get naked herself. And we knew that there were going to be pieces like this published. Even Eurogamer kind of trashed Final Fantasy XVI in their review. A couple of days ago, I talked about it in a video, but they said that, you know, there were some gamers who were boycotting this title over its lack of diversity, even though they referenced a reset era thread where only 40 people said that they were planning on boycotting it. But in their review, I mean, they trashed everything with the title, but they do bring up its lack of diversity, and they actually gave it a very measly score. And heading on over to Metacritic right now, everything is looking pretty good for this title. Yeah, Eurogamer gave it a 60, and there are some 60s and 70s here. The major complaints I have seen are people saying that the story is bloated. It could have been 10 hours shorter, and it would have been fine. You know, it's a dull and long-winded fantasy adventure, but there are only 8 mixed reviews, 0 negatives, and 98 positives. Just looking at this, I mean, 100s across the board from IGN's, Hardcore Gamers, Gaming Trend, even Game Rant gave it 100. But the issue is that these journalists are so shit at their job. Game Rant gave it a 100 and said right at the start, the game is by no means perfect. A game does not deserve a 100 if you are saying it is in no means perfect. And even though I am super excited for this title, I'm going to be streaming it, I cannot wait to finally, you know, experience it myself, I would never do this. The hype is real for me, and I want it to be a 100 out of a 100. You can't say that the game is by no means perfect and then give it a perfect score. It's reasons like this why people do not trust game journalists. It's why I don't trust game journalists. But yes, right now the scores for this title are really, really solid, but there are specific sensitive snowflakes out there complaining. And now, after the lack of diversity complaint, they're saying that it is afraid to let women be powerful. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.